Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 4th, 2012 meeting of the Edina City Council and the Edina Housing and Redevelopment Authority. Roll call, please, Ms. Megan.
Member Bennett?
Here.
Member Brindle?
Here.
Member Sprague?
Here.
Member Swenson?
Here.
Mayor Hovland?
Here. We have a form of meeting agenda in front of us this evening. Is there a motion by a council member to approve the form of meeting agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, we approve the meeting agenda format. Discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Carried. Next, we have the adoption of the consent agenda. Is there anyone on the council that wishes to remove an item from the consent agenda? Understanding that Manager Neal would like to remove 4C.
Yes, Your Honor.
I would like to remove I. 4I.
4I, all right. All right, with the exception of 4C and 4I, is there a motion to approve the balance of the consent agenda? Is there a second?
Second.
A discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Carried. Back to 4C, request for purchase for soil remediation at Braemar Public Works area. Manager Neal.
Thank you, Your Honor. This item, I'm asking to remove this from consent tonight because we have material knowledge of a change in the price of the contract, and we want to bring that to your attention. This is for the remediation of soil pollution at the area. It was kind of formerly known as the old gun range. And the council had previously directed staff to prepare a plan to clean up that area, and staff did that in conjunction with DNR and other state agencies. And we had approved or had allocated a $200,000 budget for that task. The initial bid came in at I believe $76,000. Is that correct, Mr. Bittner?
Yeah, 79,702.
79,000. But there is already a change order that actually in place that we have knowledge of $14,000 that I'll ask Mr. Bittner to say a few words about. That change order would not bring the cost up to and over $100,000, which would require it to be publicly bid, but it does exceed the 20% change order threshold. So we did want to inform you of that tonight before, and we hope that you'll approve this contract and we can get moving on it, because this is a good winter project and the bids have that in mind. So Mr. Bittner, could you fill in the blanks of that explanation, please?
Mayor and councilors, my name is Ross Bittner. I'm the environmental engineer. We learned yesterday that the soil testing values came back as positive for untreated lead material. It was from the old shot from the Whipperman gun range. It's kind of rare that we get testing on the fly like this, but we're trying to prepare the manifest so that we can actually give this to the landfill. The risk that the landfill is looking out for is that when they do put a lead material in their landfill, they want to make sure that it doesn't leach. And the test that we're taking is essentially a leaching test to make sure that it's not going to leach and cause them additional, the lead to leak out and cause them more treatment costs and to escape their landfill system. So 2 out of the 4 tests came back. They were looking for a soil reference value under 5. One came back at 10, another one at 100. And so half of the material in that lead stockpile that we have is going to require additional remediation. Midday yesterday, we thought that this would have clearly pushed us over the $100,000 limit and we would have to rebid the entire project. But working with the contractor, Belair Site Services, they have some of the stabilizing compound on hand, and they've got a break in their schedule ready to go. So they gave us a pretty competitive price for the addition, where normally that extra treated cost would bring the per tonnage rate from somewhere around $30 a ton all the way up to $90. Here we're looking at only going up to about $45 a ton, or an additional I think $12.85 a ton for that part that has to be remediated again. So we're able to salvage it, but it's rare to bring something to your attention that we know is going to have a change order.
Questions for Mr. Bintner? Member Sprague?
It works. The cover is just not secure. I have a question. The work that's going to be done in this new space, where is that being conducted right now?
Right now, it's a mixing area or a material handling area for street sweeping materials, asphalt and concrete. Right now, that happens in a fairly condensed space that's kind of on an incline, right near that area.
As you go up that hill to the south?
To the northwest from the cold storage site, almost between the cold storage site and the training facility.
That's where you can
Okay.
clean.
The cleaning area, the area to be cleaned is just to the west of the cold storage site.
Okay.
Okay, so you're shifting those activities just to the south of where they currently are being?
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Here's what I'm curious about, Mr. Bintner. We knew the soil was contaminated with low levels of lead. What I'm curious about is why the soil tests weren't done in advance so that that we knew exactly how much lead was in there, and it may have affected the billing because there's only there's less than $1,000 separating the Bel Air bid from the Carl Bolander and Sons bid. And if we had done the soil tests in advance and knew that this extra work had to be done, it seems to me that it would have been appropriate to have bid it out that way so that everybody had a fair opportunity. And now we're looking at a change order. You know, for example, how do we know what Mr. Bolander or Carl Bolander and Sons might charge for that that incremental lead remediation work? We don't know. All we know is that there was less than $1,000 that separated those two bids. So while I know this is a good winter project, I'm reluctant to just personally reluctant to award the bid, the revised bid to Bel Air without knowing how those other bidders might bid the project. You know, maybe they were anticipating higher levels of lead because it used to be a gun range, even without the soil tests that were done. So,
To address the first question, Mr. Mayor.
You
or
may.
Honorable Member, we know how much lead is in there. It's just a matter of whether it is stabilized or not. During the remediation project that put the lead there in the first place in 1997, there was a series of tests taken as the material was stabilized. And at that time, all the lead from the handful of tests was showing that it was all stabilized. So we had no expectation that we would find these values in the first place. And then to the question of the disparity in what the other bidders may or may not be able to bid if we were to rebid, I have to rely on our technical expertise from Braun Intertech. And in a conversation today, Tim Lenway with their firm explained that to me, that this is a very competitive change order, in that generally the stabilization process would bring that per ton cost up to about $90, or triple the $30 that we're seeing in the initial bid. And this is less than half of that increase, or a quarter of that increase. So,
Member Swenson?
I think I'm more comfortable after the explanation that since we'd already done remediation and we had an expectation of what that lead was going to do, and though now it's not doing that, we bidded on that expectation. So I don't think we started out in an unfair bidding environment. And I think we have to take the expertise of Braun as to the bid and the timing of it. And so I would support this.
Second.
All right. Discussion? Got a motion and a second on the amended bid. Any discussion?
Yes.
Member Brindle?
Is there a question of whether this is a fair bidding process? I mean, that's what I think it comes down to. Is there a fairness issue here?
Well, that's a consideration for the council to make, not necessarily Mr. Bintner, I think. If If you think this is not a fair process, remember, these aren't bids, these aren't competitive bids, these are quotes. It falls under the $100,000
Right.
threshold, so we do get quotes. We have some information from our technical expertise that explains how those other quotes were arrived at, and we believe that we believe it was a fair process, and that we would advise you that this is a good bid and good quote, and we should take it and go forward. That's our advice to you.
So staff's recommendation is that
It
we-
is, yeah.
The consultant as well is saying that this is a great value at this point. It's a boon at the
Okay.
price that's being quoted.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Carried. Thank you, Mr. Bittner. All right, next was 4I. Member Sprague.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just wanted to get some more information about the TriCaster system. As I understand it, this is the studio in a box. And I think the general public should know about this system, the efficiencies it brings to your production, and also the opportunity for new content on the fly. So can you talk about those two points a little bit?
First example of efficiencies, what it can help us do in terms of what we're already doing. A lot of our programming, we green screen, kind of like they do on the weather, where it's someone standing in front of a green screen and they can put whatever they want in the back. The way we do it now is we shoot the green screen stuff, then we go back to our editing system, edit it, kind of put everything in, and it takes a while. It's a good amount of staff time to produce that. This product gives us basically the ability to do that on the fly. So we could shoot something, for example, our news program, Agenda Edina, we could shoot it more like a real news broadcast where we have everything ready to go, the graphics, the video, shoot it, and then it's immediately done. The staff time involved in producing that after the fact in post-production is cut down. The turnaround time that we can get it on the air makes it more timely. And in terms of new events we can do, I mean, it opens up a lot of opportunities out in the public. Town hall forums can be shot on multiple cameras with multiple inputs and immediately turned around. The State of the Community address, events like that. Just really the things that we've almost been trying to figure out ways to do before, we can do the way they're meant to be. Producing much the way that we do in this room, just out in the community.
This is slightly off topic, but has there been any discussion among our staff in the school district about athletic events and production of that? That's come up in the past, and I'm just curious if it's come up, because the TriCaster will allow you to do some pretty neat on-location things. So.
Good evening, Mayor Hovland, members of the council. We have had conversations in the past with Edina Public Schools about broadcasting athletic events, specifically home football, hockey, and basketball games. What we've asked for is we would need to have our staff time covered, and the school district has not been in a position to cover our staff time in doing that. Now that we'll have this piece of equipment, that will make it much more effective should they be interested in such a partnership. But as of our most recent conversation, as a district, they weren't interested and directed us to their various booster clubs.
Could the council receive information on how much that would be? Because I think that content would be of interest to our shared constituencies. And I know we often have gaps to fill on Channel 16, so can we have that information at some point? And
What the cost would be?
yeah, the cost. Mm-hmm.
Sure. I think the best thing for us to do might be to survey other cities and or school districts that provide this programming to get the number of staff hours they're running on a weekly, monthly, or per game basis so that you have that information.
Appreciate that. With that discussion in hand, I will move the matter, Your Honor.
We have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. One other question. How are we paying for this? What's the source of funds?
It's, yeah, our equipment replacement fund.
And it's in the budget? All right. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. Carried. Thank you. That concludes our work in the consent agenda portion of our meeting, and we don't have any special recognitions or presentations this evening. We're going to move right into the public hearing portion of the agenda. We have 5 public hearings tonight, and the first one is a review of the 2013 operating budget and the 2013 through 17 capital improvement program. Manager Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're going to make a presentation prior to the public hearing tonight, and then present you with the numbers that were included in our packet for this evening. Recalling that this is the second year of a 2-year budget, so remembering that a lot of these numbers were initially prepared and presented to the council with a lot of deliberation back in 2011, when we had a discussion about community needs and define those community needs largely through our first quality of life survey, and then entered into a community engagement process with the Citizens League that really ultimately ended with the city's first 2-year budget that covered years 2012 and 2013. Over this past year, then, instead of spending a lot of time looking at our operating budget for 2013, we refined the operating budget for 2013 using the service levels and types that were defined by the council during that budget discussion period in 2011. We spent most of our time in 2012 looking at the 2013-17 capital improvement program. What we're going to present tonight is just a review of what we had proposed our 2013 budget would be, and also a public hearing on the capital improvement program. We'd like to get input tonight if there is any, and we'd like to have we'd ask the council to take an action on both of these items at the final council meeting of the year on December 18th. So we don't anticipate or request any action from you tonight other than the hearing itself. So I'd like to ask Mr. Ragaman, who's our Assistant Finance Director, if he would make our presentation. Mr. Ragaman.
Thank you, Manager Neal. Eric.
Mayor, members of council. As Scott said, I'm here to do a short presentation before the public hearing. I'll focus pretty much on the process we've taken up till now, and kind of a little bit on where we stand today and where we intend to go from here. This slide shows a timeline of the process. Some of the major dates anyway. We started back in June at a staff level working on the CIP and budget. The first time the council really got involved was in mid-August, when we started talking about what the process was going to be and what the major events and deadlines would be. Then in early September, on September 4th, council adopted a preliminary levy and budget. This was based on the same levy and budget that the council adopted as part of the 2012-2013 2-year budgeting process that Scott was talking about. We didn't change anything. As we get through the process, council always has the option of adopting a lower levy than the preliminary levy they adopt in September, but it can never increase. The purpose of that preliminary levy is so that we can certify it to the county, and the county can send out notices to each taxpayer in the city about what their maximum tax burden would be. On September 12th, we talked with the executive leadership team at a staff level about the CIP priorities that we had come up with, and then we showed those same priorities to council on October 2nd. And here we are today on December 4th having our public hearing part. On December 18th, the staff will ask the council to adopt a final budget and levy and also a CIP. By state law, we have to do a final budget and levy on that date, but the CIP has quite a bit more flexibility in the process. This graphic kind of shows that 2-year budget process that we started last year that Scott was talking about. The idea is that every other year we would take more time on one or the other document. This year was a CIP year, and we've pretty much followed that plan, making only minor adjustments to the operating budget, but spending a lot of extra time on the CIP, and that extra time has been spent coming up with a citywide ranking process and making better ties between strategic objectives and the capital improvement plan. This graphic shows a little bit on the staff level work that's been done on the CIP, that prioritization process that I was talking about. Started with division leaders and department heads coming up with their own rankings of the projects in their departments. And these went into a staff level subcommittee that tried to take these different department head rankings and put them into a citywide standardized format and ranking process. We gave the chance for the executive leadership team to review and comment on those recommendations, and then the city manager made a proposed recommendation to the council. This is the one that the council saw in October, and it's with a few small changes. It's essentially the same one that's in front of the council now in December. This graphic helps show why prioritization is important for us as a city right now. Most of the spending from for our capital improvement plan projects, the discretionary spending, comes from our construction fund. And what this graphic shows is that we have more requests, we have more things that we desire to do than we have funding available. And so what we think is important in this 2-year process is to make sure we have enough money available for the projects we intend to do for the next 2 years. And that's what this graphic shows. We do have enough money for the 2013 and 14 projects. In 2015, we run out of money, and we don't intend to take this course. This isn't meant to scare anybody, but it is meant to show that our prioritization process is important, and it will be important again in 2 years when we do it again. And a lot of people ask, where does the money come from for this construction fund, this discretionary money that we can spend on these various projects? This graphic shows a little bit on where that money comes from. We have some kind of ongoing revenues that help fund these projects. That's the top 3 lines there amount to about $700,000 each year. And then we also have these, we try to do one-time transfers when we have surpluses in our general fund. This year we had a particularly large one at just over $1.2 million. We hope to have another one to help fund all these needs in the future, but right now we don't know that for sure. That's why there's question marks there right now. If we add these 2 numbers together for the 2 years, we figure we've got about $2.6 or $2.7 million in discretionary dollars to spend that don't have a lot of strings attached with them. And so putting that into a graphic of how we're proposing to spend that discretionary money, this is what it looks like. A little over half would go to the Parks and Recs department. This includes not just general park improvement projects, but also those park enterprises that need construction fund help. Those include the Art Center, the arena, the golf course, Edinburgh, and Centennial Lakes. We've got 22% of our proposed spending is going to the public works area, 13% public safety, and 10% general government. There are also some dollars we spend in the CIP that are a little bit more attached to their funding source, that we have a lot less discretion in how we spend those dollars. If you add both categories together, we're proposing to spend about $42 million in the next 2 years of the CIP on 94 different improvement projects. That includes $14.8 million in utility fund improvements, 8.9 in special assessments, 5.8 million in tax increment projects, 3.2 million in equipment replacement, and 2.5 million in Minnesota state aid, along with several other smaller categories. Moving on to the budget and levy side of what we were talking about tonight. This is the chart of our operating levies and debt service levies over the years. The same chart actually appeared in the 2012-2013 operating budget that was adopted by council last year. Our proposed property tax levies have not changed. They result in approximately a 2.5% tax capacity levy increase. The impact that would have on a single-family residential home, the estimated median market value of that home increased a little bit from 2012 to 2013 by about 1.6%. The city portions of taxes on this property would increase about $26 or 2.4%. What we're seeing this year is more of the burden is being borne by the commercial properties. These properties increased about 1% in value. The city portion of taxes on this property increased $762 or close to 15%. When you add together all the taxes that a property would pay, this includes the city, the county,